I recently came across this video from Barry Johns talking about Avid and Pro Tools and pretty much how they just managed to just drop the ball over the years. And it resonated with me because this is how I've been feeling about Pro Tools for years. And it's always been one of those DAWs that it was like you kind of have it just because compatibility stuff, old sessions. So you always kind of keep it close, but you really don't rock with it like that for real. So let's just dig into the video. I'll link directly to Barry's video as well in the description. You can check it out, check his channel out for yourself. But let's dig into it. Let me get some headphones so y'all ain't hearing all types of crazy feedback and whatnot.
Well, Avid, I guess you've done this to yourself. But for this guy, that's no surprise. It's no surprise at all. I'm going to give you guys a quick background on myself as it relates to my previous relationship with Avid for over 2 decades. I was a mix user and then an HD user using their TDM cards and then upgraded to HDX. And I was on the forefront of all of those technologies. I've spent way too much money on Avid products over the years. And there was a time when they were absolutely needed. There's no question about it. Computers weren't as powerful as they are today. And there really wasn't anywhere near the competition that exists today as well. About 3 or 4 years ago, I started to get very, very frustrated with Avid and their policies, especially when they introduced the subscription model. I thought that that was going to be the demise of them. I could not imagine why in the world anybody out there would subscribe to a mediocre digital audio workstation by today's standards. I mean, let's face it, if you think you need Pro Tools, you could not be more wrong today.
No, and that's a fact. Like, you don't need Pro Tools. The only time you need Pro Tools is if you have a Pro Tools session that you need to open up and stems were never bounced out as audio and you just have to get inside that session. But pretty much every DAW can do what Pro Tools does. But the subscription model, man, I got a story for y'all. I'm gonna share it, but let's get back to this video.
That is the truth for about 98% of people using digital audio workstations today. Yes, there are some that still need to use it, and I concede that. I absolutely concede that. But what people don't realize, and I can understand this and I can relate to this because you simply don't know what you don't know. I thought I was going to have a lot of problems migrating away from HDX. I thought, I've been on this for so long, there's no way in the world my computer is going to be able to keep up. Then came along Apple Silicon. Now, yes, I am a Mac user, so that's an important update to me. I'm in no way saying Mac is better than PC. I've got a lot of videos out there stating the fact that I think you can do great work on either one of them. That said,
Mac is definitely better than PC. I'm going to just put that out there. It is better than PC. Nah, but you can get the job done, even if you got a PC. It's okay. You can get the job done.
I'm a Mac guy. And with my M1 Pro, MacBook Pro, I mean, the very first Pro version of it, it destroyed everything my HDX card could do. I can track through hundreds of tracks, through hundreds of plugins with no audible latency at a buffer of 64. I said hundreds of plugins at a buffer of 64. I have not once ever had to raise my buffer since I moved away. Now, to be fair, I don't use a lot of virtual instruments. So for those of you out there that do, you may find that a little bit harder to do. I can't speak to that. You know it better than I do. That said, I never needed it. And it was one of the most blissful things that I've ever had happen to me in all the decades that I've been involved in recording. And that goes back to the early 80s. I've been doing this a long time. Now, I've upset Avid over the years. I've had my share of controversies with them. I would voice my opinion on the DUC, which is their online forum that they own, and they have every right to do whatever they want to with it. But just because you can does not mean that you should. If you can't welcome the criticism of your users, what does that say about you? Because I was just one person out there saying the same things.
Listen, for all the audio companies out there, for any business out there, it is so crucial to listen to the people who are actually using your stuff every single day. I feel like we had the situation with Waves. They made a business decision, and I don't think they fully thought out like how that would make the people who use their plugins feel. Like people who bought perpetual licenses, all of a sudden being forced into like this subscription model. Now, they came back after we complained a lot and changed that, but like Avid kind of did the same thing, because I told you earlier where a story that I wanted to share was that I had bought a perpetual license, like an updated version of Pro Tools or whatever, because I was just like, I don't want to do a subscription. Just let me buy a perpetual license. I think it was like $600, $700 or something like that. I was like, let me have it just so I can have it on my computer, because I don't use it a lot. I really only use it if I'm like cutting vocals here in my studio, or if somebody just sends me a Pro Tools session, or if I want to open up some of my older sessions that were in Pro Tools and do remixes or whatever. But I'm not in it a lot, so I don't want to pay a monthly fee, and I'm not in it. Also, I would just like to have a version that works. And then what happens? Well, computer upgrades happen, and now all of a sudden I go to use my perpetual license. It's not working. So I go, okay, maybe there's an update. So I go and I update, or try to update to the latest version of Pro Tools, because I bought a perpetual license. Perpetual means forever. Well, I learned that perpetual, according to Avid, doesn't really mean forever. It means as long as it works on the operating system you have, and if you have to upgrade for whatever reason, you're going to have to kick off, you're going to have to buy this upgrade plan or whatever, which is like another $200 or something crazy. And just to be able to update what you bought perpetually, it's weird, because it's like, well, this isn't really a perpetual license. This is, here you can download the software as long as it works, and then you're gonna have to pay us every time you need to upgrade. And back in the day, it just wasn't like that. If you bought Inbox and Pro Tools or Pro Tools LE, that joint worked. When there was updates, you could download the updates. With Logic Pro, the DAW that I use 95% of the time, I paid $200 for Logic Pro years ago, and I've been updating for free ever since. No additional fees, and Logic has gotten like extremely powerful. Love the features, love the workflow. But yeah, man, they just really made decisions without taking into consideration the people and the perspective from the people who's actually using their products. And I feel like that's a bad move for like any company, man. Listen to your customers. It's crazy.
And my frustration with this greedy company, it got to the point where they banned me from the DUC.
Are you overwhelmed with identity management in the context of omnipresent threats to your organization?
Hi.
So we just gonna skip the ad, but yeah, so now I pretty much got to a point to where I was just like, I'll do your little subscription thing, because I'm not about to pay $200 for something that I may open up twice a year. Like last year, I opened up Pro Tools probably 2 times. Like once to open up a session that was recorded at another studio that was recorded in Pro Tools, and then another time was probably like to pull up an older session, and that was it. I was just like, I'll pay you a few bucks for a month of access, and then I'm canceling it, because it's insane.
Always professional about it. I never did any personal attack. I simply stated facts, and they couldn't handle them. They wanted me to simply go away. Well, then I developed this channel, and I developed an audience, and I've grown this channel by being incredibly honest. Every review that I've ever done has been genuine and honest. I cannot be bought and sold by any company out there. Now, Avid reached out to me saying, basically implying, let's build a bridge. Let's get past all of this. So I had conversations with their VP of product development. And throughout all that, they wanted to bring me in on the newest tech. They wanted to make me part of what they had coming forward. Basically, they were like a pharmaceutical company causing you to bend at the knee and bow to their will. I laughed at them. I literally laughed at them. That was the first time I laughed at them. They didn't like it too well, to the point they actually implied that they were going to bring out their lawyers against me. I laughed even harder at that time. I said, bring it on, boys. Bring it on. I cannot be bullied. I welcome that opportunity. So give it a try and let's see who wins in public opinion. Of course, they backed away from that very quickly and our conversations stopped. Now, again, my biggest gripe, I've had a lot of gripes with them, and there was a time it was a good company. But ever since the private equity gets involved, all they do is sit around and give themselves high fives in the boardroom and celebrate their successes and their bonuses at the end of the year. Meanwhile, they're laying off hundreds of people. I've never met a single person who used Media Composer and liked it. Not one. They all hate it. They all say, I wish we could get away from it, but we can't. I understand that. I get that. But that still speaks to the fact that they're making garbage even at the professional level. Recording studios are dead at this point. For all intents and purposes, they're dead. You don't need DSP in your recording studio. Majority of you simply don't need it. Some of you do, as I stated before. So what has Avid done exactly? Well, they've boxed themselves into a corner and made their products unwanted by just about everybody. Everybody I talk to hates Pro Tools and hates Avid. Only those with their head buried in the sand will say positive things about them. They may work with it because they feel they need to, and I have total respect for that. Look, we all get to choose which digital audio workstation we use. And
listen, like, I haven't created music and produced music in Pro Tools in like well over a decade. Like, it is like there was it was GarageBand, and then I jumped from GarageBand to Pro Tools. First off, I was immediately overwhelmed at Pro Tools coming from GarageBand. I was like, what? I don't even know how to create a track. What is this? So then I started producing in Pro Tools. It was constant frustration, crashes, MIDI doing weird stuff. Oh, it was just so frustrating. The plugins in there were they weren't good. The sounds were horrible. Then I got introduced to Reason and Logic. I was using Reason and Logic for a while. And then Logic, I just fell in love. Like, it was just so easy to do simple things in Logic versus Pro Tools. Like, Pro Tools, you have to like put on your engineering hat just to create an auxiliary track in Pro Tools. Like, it's crazy. You gotta go through some things. And when you're like just working, just quickly want to create something, Logic does the same thing like instantly. Like, it's crazy how every other DAW has simplified certain tasks that Pro Tools just hasn't caught up on. And then the last one, when I did activate my subscription to hop into a session a couple months ago, it got even more complicated. There were so many things, so many menus, so many buttons on the screen. I'm just like, this is crazy. Who would want to work in this confusion? It's confusion. That's what it is. Anyways.
we get to choose what gear we buy. And I'm not here to criticize anybody on any of that. You make your choices. I've already made mine. I moved away back there on that screen. I use Cubase today, and that was a hard transition. And thanks to Chris Salim, Chris, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name. He has a YouTube channel. I'm sure you know who he is. I actually bought.
Don't feel bad, Barry. I butcher names all the time on my live streams. I do music reviews. I butcher everybody's name. It's just what we do.
His course. One of the best values I've ever spent on anything audio related was buying Chris's course. It made that transition so much easier because Cubase does come at it from a totally different perspective. That said, I've got a lot of respect for Studio One. I like Logic. I use all of those here in the studio. and I enjoy them all. So back to Pro Tools. This whole subscription nonsense really pissed me off. It really upset me. And then they did away with perpetual. They made it where you could no longer buy a perpetual license. What kind of idiocy is this? And of course, I applied a ton of social media pressure, as well as others did too. And I'm confident that I, as well as others, played a role in forcing their hand to bring it back. Now all I
didn't mean to do the DJ horn, but like, yes, they brought it back, but they kind of didn't. Like, it's there. Like, you can go technically buy a perpetual license, but just wait until you have to do a software update and the version of Pro Tools that you had when the update period or whatever expires from that perpetual license, you'll be paying another additional like $200 just to be able to get a functioning version on your current OS. That's the super frustrating part.
see is I'm flooded with emails, save 33% or whatever the crappy percentage is on their god-awful ripoff. You get absolutely nothing for anything. You absolutely own nothing. And that is a subscription to Pro Tools. You're being suckered. That's all I can tell you. You're being suckered. Those that think they're getting a great deal with the education version of that, I do agree it's priced competitively, but other manufacturers do the same thing. You just got to do your homework. So I was perusing through Reverb yesterday because I've got things for sale out on Reverb. I make custom panels for my Softtube Console 1, which I absolutely love. There's a link to my Reverb store down below, as well as my affiliate links to Sweetwater and Tomin. Just don't use those links to buy Avid. I'd rather not have a piece of that pie. That's blood money as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I decided, let me go do a search on used HDX.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part.
So I'm gonna just let this ad play through, but like, can you understand the frustration with that? It's just like, you think you're getting something, but you're really not. I know if I do a licensing deal with a publisher and that agreement is perpetual for that particular master, it means forever. Like, they're not gonna come back and be like, oh, you know, the deal is like, forever just means forever. Like, there's nothing you can add to perpetual. It's like, you can't go add an additional 5 years to a perpetual license because that perpetual means forever. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So you buy a perpetual license from Pro Tools and they're like, oh, you have to pay us more to continue to use this same license. That's weird, man. That's weird. So, like I said, I'm just going back. I'm going back to, like, if I need it, I'll get it for the month and then I cancel it. So, like, you know, that's just where I'm.
Lost their value based on a percentage that Avid is losing money on their used cards with TDM. The only time TDM prices truly dropped significantly is when HDX came out. Understandably so. They were a much more powerful card than what you could get on a TDM. $1,400 to $1,500. Ask yourself, what does a brand new HDX card cost? Well, let me tell you, $5,000. Avid is selling a single HDX card for $5,000. And guess what? It doesn't come with Pro Tools Ultimate. You got to buy that on top of that.
Hold on, wait. So I just have a home studio, so there's no need for me to get, you know, these cards and things like that, HDX. I did not know after you spend $5,000+ on some hardware from Avid that you now also have to pay an additional fee for Pro Tools just to be able to use what you just paid $5,000 for. I mean, I get one is software, one is hardware. But it's like, I can't use this without the other. Like, and they know that. They know that. That's crazy.
So what a scam this is. And for those people out there that say, I can just write it off, I run a business. Well, wasting your business's money is stupid.
No, I agree 100%. Because listen, I love me some write-offs. Like, I just wrote off the mic that I'm talking on. An amazing mic. But listen, or I will be writing it off when we we do taxes this year. But I like, before you can have a tax deduction, you have to first pay the money. I don't want to pay the money for something that I already paid for. Like, if it's a perpetual license, I paid for that. I don't want to have to pay more money for that. I also don't want to pay for money for a subpar product where I could pay less money for a DAW that does a way better job at most things. Now, I will say, I love the audio editing experience in Pro Tools for some reason. I don't know if it's because I used it for so many years that I just got used to the workflow and the shortcuts. I don't know. Or if it's that they just kind of mastered the audio editing experience inside of a DAW to where, like, I don't know, I just noticed a difference. Like, I like that, and I like cutting and recording audio in there. But listen, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. I don't know.
And you can also write off that $1,500 for that Mint used card. The likelihood that you're going to need warranty on a new HDX card is about slim to basically zero. There may be a few exceptions to that, but I have owned a lot of cards from Avid over the years, and I've never had a single problem with a single one of them. So I guess that speaks to their build quality. Well, their build quality better be good at $5,000. What is it doing for you? If you think you need DSP, buy a new computer and give it a try without it in a different digital audio workstation.
No, like facts. Like, so I'm running a M1 Mac Studio and Logic for the majority of my work. I've also used Ableton. And my audio interface is an SSL 2 Plus, the first generation that came out. It does what I needed to do. Like, again, I'm not running a massive studio here. I'm not recording a bunch of, live inputs and things like that. Most of the stuff I'm doing is virtual instruments and some audio. Recording a bass or something, recording vocals. That's it. I'm not doing anything crazy, but that gets the job done. I don't like DSPs. I use an audio interface, and I had to interface with another interface, just use that interface. I quickly came to the conclusion, I don't like that. I know Universal Audio has some great interfaces, but I don't want to have to open up another window or program or software to interact and like do things to an interface. That's why I love the SSL 2 Plus, because the blue button, the big blue button means volume. You turn it up, it turns up. The other buttons equals the input, you turn it up. You got headphones, you got the mix, input mix, whatever. And that's it. You turn it on and it works. You don't have to interact with any. I'm already interacting with a DAW. I don't want to have to interact with another window. Less is more. Let's continue.
Avid intentionally make Pro Tools harder to use in any kind of low latency mode with non-Avid hardware. It works, yes, but you're always going to get better performance out of Avid hardware. Isn't that suspicious alone? It certainly is to me. Just look at the Carbon as an example. I bought a Carbon before I moved away from Pro Tools, and honestly, it was a great sounding interface in my ears, but it has zero true expandability. The ADAT ports are basically useless. You can't use them to expand the system. You can bring in your own mic pre's, but you got to use hardware inputs to be able to utilize them.
So, listen, I'll let you go finish the rest of the video on his channel. The link will be in the description. But yeah, man, Avid, I just think, I don't know, man, like, they've made some improvements to the aesthetics of Pro Tools, which is cool. You know, it looks better. I like the darker theme, but the way they structured the business of it really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth in this industry. You know, I like to, when I make a decision to buy something or own it perpetually, I want that to mean what it says. I don't want to have to worry about all these hidden fees. I got hit with waves from that when I had a version of plugins and I needed to update them because they just weren't working on the current OS. I had to pay like an additional $300 to do that. And this isn't about waves. It's just about, I don't know, man. You know, listen, I'm a producer. I don't understand the business and the, you know, the building that goes into, you know, these plugins and things like that. But, you know, it also has to make sense for us to continue to pay for something, especially pay for something that, again, we don't have to pay for when it comes to other companies. Other companies are developing amazing plugins, amazing DAWs. There's some free ones out there that will get the job done. So, yeah, man, I don't know. This, you know, the whole industry standard, you know, that's kind of dead when it comes to Pro Tools. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments. That's just my 2 cents. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.